Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Jessica Clemons and we are on episode 6 of Gen V, and let me tell you, this is the only episode that gave my heart a bit of a break, and I really needed that. It's been smooth sailing through this episode, but who's that? In the distance, it's Stan, Edgar, and Zoe Newman. Thank God they're alive and thank God they're okay. So let's get into this breakdown and point out all those missed details you might have missed, but also just talk about what just happened at the end. But first, before we get into it, make sure to check out nerdriot.shop where we get the latest and greatest in New Rockstars merch. We got some Godokin University merch. I always talk about it, but this is my first time wearing it because it got to me and I love this merch. Look at it. This is such fun merch. It makes me feel like I'm a school kid again. Go over to nerdriot.shop to get some cool outfits, cool swag, wear it on your back and look cool doing it. Okay, let's get into it now. Episode 6 is titled Cooking Lessons, which is funny because they take a little bit of a cooking lesson from Stan Edgar, but we find out both Marie and Homelander were cooked to perfection, if you catch my drift. Spoiler warning also, I'll be spoiling all of episode 6, so be prepared for that. This video is sponsored by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes launching your own website a breeze. By the end of this episode, it is revealed that Marie and Homelander are two successful babies born out of Project Odessa, which aim to create the most immaculate soups. While Homelander is still a psychopath, Marie is not, and this distinction is why Marie is viewed as a powerful weapon. However, Marie approaches all of this in a more innocent way. She prefers to be nobody. She wants to be Marie and not a baby Homelander. And girl, I get that, but we ain't got time for that. I'm sorry, you got the shit end of the stick, but Marie, we need you to get it together. We're in Endgame. We open the episode after Marie revived Annabeth, but the Elmira facility is now going on lockdown with the guards attempting to stop them. We saw a version of this sonic weapon that the guards are using against the Supes in season 1 of Gen V. In The Boys, Frenchie used a high-frequency sonic weapon on Homelander. Supes have enhanced hearing, so these weapons kinda take them out for a little bit. We learn quickly that Annabeth has power, something that I theorized would happen. She's a precog and able to see fragments of the future. And this makes sense since she was also conceived using Compound V, and it makes what Aunt Pam said a few episodes back about Annabeth being the real miracle extra dumb, because Pam thought she was conceived naturally, but this girl is just like her sister kind of. So if Marie's mother's infertility was resolved by Compound V injected in the early stages of pregnancy, then the next baby would not be considered a miracle. It would be possible to have that next baby because the Compound V stored in that cluster of cells helped to correct the fertility issue. Sam breaks through the Elmira facility, and for a moment you think he's doing it to stop them, but he's actually there to help them. And once again, when Jordan gets startled at the wall crashing in, they switch to their male form, their default form for when shit really hits the fan. We learn Sam doesn't drive, like we found out last episode that Marie also doesn't drive, and Sam spent his teenage years locked up by Voss, so again, this does track. Emma and Sam have this little exchange that I like.
You Kool-Aid man that wall.
Oh yeah.
And we all know what this comes from.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh yeah.
Sam has to ditch his phone and Jordan tells him to, and I feel like there's a time when Jordan learned to ditch their phone the hard way. After Marie says he just fixed it, referring to Cypher fixing how she uses the abilities, it cuts to Kate, who would certainly use a lot of fixing right now. She's now thinking that Marie can help her get her powers back on track. They're trying to run away to Canada, which is actually kind of funny because we know that they shoot in Toronto, and Annabeth is trying to escape the van, and rightfully, this is all hitting her a lot harder than everyone else. The Scooby-Doo gang are all used to this shit, but she's not. Also, she's still a bit younger than them, and I think that's why the conversation she has later with Zoe is a little bit easier, as well as, you know, both of them lost their parents to Supes. Marie promises Annabeth is safe, which she never is around Marie, and she clocks that later in the episode.
So you show up all these years later just to ruin my life again.
Cypher's doing his nightly routine with Godokin. It's real PT time, physical therapy time. He learns Marie and the gang got out, and he's livid. And I like that he throws the phone in a way that Ethan Slater's Godokin would probably throw a phone. He slaps himself, calling his body weak, pathetic, worthless. He says, "You disgusting vomit, pink little dumpster baby," which is a lot of words to say, so clearly he likes to kind of abuse himself. The term dumpster baby refers to a baby that has been abandoned in a dumpster, but in this context, I don't believe Godokin was literally left in a dumpster, but there are two possible scenarios. A, he was given up when he was younger, which would introduce another character with mommy issues into the boys universe, or B, he might be referring to his current situation as a dumpster baby because he nearly died, and it's likely that Voss just kept him in this hyperbaric chamber and simply forgot about him. I have noticed that this man seems to enjoy hurting himself physically, but I initially originally thought it was because, you know, he has no ability to actually feel things because he's burnt to a crisp. However, I now think he shouts at himself because he's an ambitious little piece of shit, like Annie said, and hates failure. The gang is now at the permanently closed Steuben Community Library. Next to the library is the therapy center for soups I mentioned last breakdown, the Global Wellness Center, and next to that is a Jitterbean. There is a Southeast Steuben County Library in New York that looks a little bit similar on the inside to this Child Wonderment one. It's also currently National Banned Books Week, so many libraries, including Steuben's, are highlighting the famous banned books right now, some of which we'll see in a second. Last night, I was invited to an early screening of this episode at the Los Angeles Public Library to honor it, and the cast was there, and Kripke was there. It was an amazing panel about youth and politics with special guest George M. Johnson, who wrote All Boys Aren't Blue, a book that was our nation's #1 banned book in April, and still banned. You guys should all buy it. On the walls outside the building, we see the Resist Starlighters posters and the Home Teamer posters, and the nation will always be at war with these two. There's also a Deep poster that I think is for deodorant. Inside, they spray painted perv over the gender-neutral bathroom sign. In the pile of books on fire, we see 1984 by George Orwell, one of the books these whack jobs nowadays are actually burning and banning because it deals with authoritarian governments. Beloved by Toni Morrison, which is also currently being banned because it deals with the horrors of slavery, and our current administration wants to pretend slavery just never happened. A book called Drag Story, and I'm assuming I don't really need to explain why this is being burned, but for those watching from outside the United States or just don't know, there's an ongoing controversy over drag queens reading to children in libraries during story time because people are idiots. Jordan speaks to Marie on a real level about her powers and how things will be different now, and Marie, stop acting brand new. You are one of the strongest soups in the world. They're gonna use that. Everyone's acting so oblivious this episode, like, Marie, there's no going back. You can't be normal again. The snacks Sam finds are the firecracker ones from the gas station in episode 1, and inside the room with the phone, the computer has a VOT OS sleep screen. It's kind of like Apple OS, and I like that they use a Microsoft browser. On Emma's Instagram list, her username is Little Cricket, her persona online, and we see Rafa, and I checked the credits, and there's 2 people this could be a short name for. They both work in VFX. One is Tristan Zarafa and Rafael Valenzuela Ochoa. AK Laku, who works with the camera department, Greg, Allie's brother, Harper and Allie's group chat, and we couldn't find the rest of the group, but if you're watching this, at me and Gina. I'm not here for Sam and Emma getting back together because he broke her heart. However, as someone who is overly #Team Emma, I will respect and honor whatever she chooses, and it better be correct. There's something about Kate putting on this beanie while the backdrop is a bunch of wild animals reading that's giving Black Noir's hallucination and his friends. And then Marie and Annabeth finally have a discussion. And it's not like the discussion went anywhere positive. Kate was just sitting there and listening. Then I remembered when it comes to siblings in the boys universe, in Gen V universe, what Marie did was an accident. Arguably what Kate did with her brother, banishing him away for life, never to be seen again, that's kind of worse. And I wonder if these sibling dynamics bring up that sad memory for Kate. Regardless, Marie hasn't seen her sister in years since she's fully come into her powers, so this is the first time she's sensing the V in her sister's body. And it could have been there from birth, or maybe Vought injected her at some point after Marie's power manifested in the hopes that Annabeth would be just as powerful. What I'm about to say, I'm saying politely and with the utmost respect because the actress playing Annabeth is honestly amazing. I'm obsessed with her. But Annabeth, you're being kind of a bitch here. Marie also lost her parents. Like, let's not forget that. Annabeth just got done saying she can't control her precog powers, so she should know a thing or two about the powers that she has that she doesn't know how to control. And it was their parents who made that decision to use Compound V in the first place. So really, none of this is on Marie. I'm tired of people acting like it's Marie's fault. Back with Polarity, he awakes to Cypher, and let me tell you, I know Godolkin is in there, and that motherfucker knows what a Waffle House brawl is. Cypher's been there a minute. He has a meal and a play, as you can see in front of him. And Cypher asks Polarity to tell Marie to return to campus, and Cypher will leave everyone alone, including her sister. And on a side note, I know that there's Black people working on Gen V this season. I already know it, but now I'm seeing it. There's a bottle of Cantu just sitting there on the nightstand. Annabeth is having a panic attack, and Marie says we're gonna do exercises that they did as a child, and Annabeth says her therapist has been helping her with good techniques. And this may stem from the direct death of her parents, but she also talks about being a shy kid with Victoria Newman's daughter later. I think we saw a younger Marie calming Annabeth down when they were kids in season 1, episode 1, but that was so long ago. Annabeth senses something coming, and it's our favorite soup, Vicor, and I think he's directly on Cypher's payroll at this point. I love that Annabeth's like, aren't you guys soups? Do something! And then Kay and Emma have this exchange.
Wait, say something nice about me. Like what?
you.
It's so funny to me. We know Vicor was strong, but he's really strong. Like, he's throwing Sam around like a rag doll, and remember, Sam ripped apart an entire SWAT team last season. We see a poster behind Annabeth that says June. If we assume that season 4 of The Boys takes place between late 2024 and early 2025, that means we skipped over the spring and summer, aside from that brief Cypher and Sage flashback. In that unseen stretch of time, Voss nationalism and Homelander's rhetoric have clearly escalated. What's sad about this is how normal it feels to the kids. This isn't really shocking to them, it's just their reality, and as viewers, we almost miss it too. In only a few skip months, their world has already started to burn. That's how fast this wildfire can spread. Then we're saved by Victoria Newman's daughter, Zoe Newman, who we really haven't seen in action since she attacked Frenchie and Kimiko last season of The Boys. In this chaotic scene, it's just also funny to get a little look at Annabeth's sweatshirt that says, "I like big brains, I cannot lie," while like Vicor's head rolls onto the ground. When it comes to Zoe Newman, we know her mom gave her Compound V to protect her if anything went south, and after her mom's death, Stan Edgar, Newman's adoptive father, had taken Newman's daughter Zoe as well. You know how vampires need to be invited in? That's kind of how like the potential customers with websites work. Not that they're gonna suck your blood or anything, but if your website offers any barrier to entry or is at all difficult to use, nobody's gonna stick around to find out how great your product or service actually is. You can remove those hurdles and make your website more inviting by using Squarespace. Squarespace is an all-in-one tool that gives you everything you need to make a website that looks good and does whatever you need it to do. If you're selling goods or services, Squarespace can help you untangle digital payment platforms with just a few clicks, making it easy to start receiving payments right away using popular payment methods like Apple Pay, ACH Direct Debit, Klarna, and more. If you're not a graphic designer, don't worry. Squarespace's design intelligence tool makes it so easy to get your website looking just right. It combines 2 decades of industry-leading design expertise with cutting-edge AI technology. Every Squarespace website is optimized to be indexed with meta descriptions and auto-generated sitemap and more, so you show up more often to more people in global search engine results. Head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/newrockstars to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Then the man himself, who I just mentioned, appears. It's Stan Edgar. We learn instantly that Edgar's been pursuing other opportunities, and last that we saw of Stan Edgar, he was at the barn where it was revealed that they were testing V on animals, and he was arrested, but Victoria Newman freed him before he could go back to prison. So our man definitely is on the run right now, but also still has his hands in the good old, dark market. Edgar takes him to this random warehouse that leads to an underground bunker house where he lives, and it's very, very nice. He says it's 90 feet deep below zinc reinforced concrete, which we know protects them from Homelander's X-ray vision. In season 1, the Deep Sea friends found Translucent's body in a box made of zinc, so Homelander couldn't find it. Edgar's added note that it could protect from someone with the power of like the neutron bomb also must be a link to Soldier Boy. Sam seems also very claustrophobic, which is probably because he used to be kept against his will in the woods. And also, why would you trust anyone from Vought in a bunker? It's still Stan Edgar. Edgar said he found them because Vicor had a tracking chip in him, which could mean that all the soups on Vought's payroll probably have chips. That would mean Dognot, Cindy, and Love Sausage, possibly even Sam and Kate. We don't know, but maybe. Victoria Newman's daughter acknowledges that Marie was also at the Red River Institute, just like Victoria, and just like her when her mom died. This conversation also makes them kind of choke up and get a little sad, and I'm like, oh, this is so sad. But also Zoe is kind of a weirdo. Maybe she's a little antisocial. She got turned into like a monster with Compound V, and then her mom died. Maybe she's not a weirdo. Maybe she's just sad. I'm not gonna be mean on this girl. Stan Edgar has had this bunker before bunkers became a trend. He knows that Mark Zuckerberg has a lesser version, so this man has money. He also talks about how Thomas Keller was paid to teach him how to cook, so he makes frittatas with that teaching, I guess. Thomas Keller is also a very famous American chef. To be honest, in Breaking Bad, Giancarlo Esposito had a great cooking scene when he made Walter White some fish stew, and it was also very similar and threatening to this scene that we're getting in Gen V, and I bet the writers were like, you know what? Get that man back in the kitchen. Kate runs the Vought playbook, and although it's frowned upon by Edgar, she's not wrong in thinking that he's up to no good. They normally do this shit. However, Kate is understandably a bit on edge since she can't read people's minds, so she doesn't know where people are really going. Edgar wants Marie, and he runs us through everything.
The Odessa program.
And Cypher created that.
Not originally, no. It was the brainchild of Thomas Godolkin, going all the way back to the 1960s. His goal was to create God-tier superheroes, stronger, more powerful than the rest. It didn't work at first.
Till Cypher made it work.
There were many failures. With the advent of in vitro fertilization, Odessa subjects were injected with Compound V at the blastocyst stage. Very wasteful.
Yeah, we saw the files. Dozens of dead children.
Over the years, only 2 subjects have survived. You, of course, Marie, And in the 80s, Homelander.
So we assumed Homelander was another soup through Project Odessa, but we now learn there are only 2 successful offsprings from that project, and they were Homelander and Marie, who were supposed to be god-tier soups. The dilemma isn't just that people want to use Marie to take down Homelander, it's everything that comes with this. Homelander isn't just a soup, he's a symbol for Vought, for America, and for authoritarianism. If he can fail, that means that symbol collapses. Vought molded Homelander into the image of a perfect American boy, and Marie is respectfully the opposite, a black woman who accidentally killed her parents, grew up in an orphanage, and whose powers were once seen as filthy. Now she'll constantly just be measured against him, pulled into everyone else's agenda, and forced to navigate how the world redefines her identity. And the irony in all of this is she never asked for any of this. She was just a girl with frightening powers who earned a scholarship to guide you, unaware she was born into the same experiment that created Homelander. I like that they also have Marie dealing with this notion of, I never asked to be a leader, because no one ever asked to be like a hero or a leader. They just stood up for what was wrong and what was right, and people believe them. And like Annie said, she also has to deal with innocent people dying in her name now, which sucks. It feels like a double-edged sword. There's nowhere they can go. Back with Emma and Sam listened to what his mom had to tell him about taking responsibility for his bad behavior, starting with apologizing to Emma. And good for Emma for setting firm boundaries. Sam did her wrong, and she's building her self-respect back up, so she doesn't need to go back to that. Back with Stan Edgar, Kate, and Jordan, we learn now how everyone on the outside has seen Cypher.
Cypher dedicated his career to building on the work of Thomas Godolkin. Where they differed, Godolkin believed that he could control soups, while Cypher, no such thing.
What does he want?
In a word, soup supremacy. Vought land über alles.
He says Vought land über alles, and über alles means above all else in German, so it basically just means soup supremacy and superheroes above all else. Something we've been known, or at least that I clocked last breakdown, is that we knew that Cypher wants a soup uprise. We learned that Stan Edgar shut down Odessa after Marie's birth, but they clearly brought it back since we saw the memo in season 4. So sometime after Edgar left, they must have brought Odessa back, and this could have been Cypher's doing within Vought, still furthering his studies. We also learned Godolkin's body was never recovered in the fire, and it was a rumor within Vought that he was still alive, but no one took it seriously. And this is why I mean everyone's acting oblivious this episode. What do you mean no one took that seriously? If they kept Soldier Boy alive, why the hell wouldn't they keep Godolkin alive? So now Stan Edgar believes it's a trophy and Cypher's a crazy person, which it could be the case, and egg on my face if it is, because I think that he's being controlled by Godolkin, and I still think that Burn Man in the hyperbaric chamber is Godolkin. So I'm still standing on business on this. Zoe said she thinks her dad is dead, and he might be. We don't actually know if he's dead. Her father is Samir, a Vought researcher who helped create the soup virus, and he was attacked by the soup sheep, and Butcher cut off his leg to fake his death and held him prisoner. After he escaped, he met up with Victoria, and I don't think we actually know what happened to him after that. So I guess in a weird world of the boys, he could still be alive somewhere. I also don't like that she told Annabeth it would be easier if Marie decided to stay, which implies that she'll have to kill a bunch of people if Marie chooses not to be Team Stan Edgar. Annabeth is remembering all the good stuff her sister did for her, and good, because Annabeth has been an asshole to Marie for years over something that isn't Marie's fault. I'm mad at Annabeth. If there is a this episode, it's Annabeth. But I understand trauma. Trauma. I get it, Annabeth, but Jesus Christ. We look at Godolkin's files, and he was doing early research in subduing and controlling soups. They made a high-frequency whistle that looks like the inhibitor collars, but works like the machines used on the Hulks. And this is prototype 12, so they were perfecting this weapon. They've been working at it. In the documents, still labeled under Vought American, we see that even then, he was working on subduing soups. One mark is for halothane, and halothane is what Frenchie used on the boys to knock out Kimiko. We've seen it used a few times, although it didn't work on Soldier Boy, so it has its limits on soups if they're really strong, I assume. Back with Polarity and Cypher learns Vicor didn't get Marie and they got away, and he threatens the person on the phone with him emptying a shotgun into their mouth. And if this person knows Cypher's powers, holy shit. Then we learn the plan that Cypher has, and it's to kill the weak superheroes and keep the strong ones. He uses the Australians killing kangaroos to keep them safe and strong, which I guess is true. According to CNN, the government and wildlife experts say some species of kangaroos are so plentiful they need to be regularly culled to protect the land, other native species, and the animals themselves from starving during times of drought. It's kind of similar to when the wolves were reintroduced to Yellowstone National Park in the 1990s to control the booming elk population, which was them overgrazing and preventing vegetation recovery. All of this is ridiculous. This is bad. We already theorized a bit of a soup uprising was always in Cypher's plan, but this is just straight up eugenics. Also, these are still people, not failed experiments. So this makes sense why he's basically cool with being a pseudo-Nazi, although it's different, it's the same idea. Deciding who's worthy to live and who isn't based on strength and usefulness to the system, that ties directly back to a fascist history. Think Nazi Germany, where people were sorted, rounded up, and erased if they didn't fit the regime's ideal. That's 100% a crazy thing to do. But in the boys universe, which mimics America's culture, we might not be culling soups, but we are rounding people up, shipping them out, and building systems that decides who belongs and who doesn't. We got mass incarcerations, immigration detention, even policies that separate people by class or status. It all echoes the same hierarchy. So while Cypher's actions are clearly, obviously wrong, they don't look wrong through the lens of home teamers or Vought nationalist values. In Vought's worldview, capturing innocent soups, killing starlighters, and turning them into pawns in the soup uprising isn't evil, it's all just strategy. And like Sage even said, who's gonna build your monuments at the end? It's the people. If you induce fear and create a common enemy, they win the game, and they're doing it flawlessly. No one is gonna care that they're rounding up and killing soups when everyone fears bad soups. I hate this world, dude. The Vought people are getting it. Polarity got so pissed when Cypher mentioned Andre that he was able to force Cypher out of his brain momentarily to stop his control and blast him with some magnetic energy. I'm guessing this is gonna come up later if Polarity figures out how to keep from being controlled permanently. And there's a world, I guess, where the magnetic powers work like a magnetic field, and that static could be like an EMP and just cancel out the neurological manipulation coming from Cypher, which means there's some soups that won't be affected by Cypher. So it's not all bad. It's not all bad. Maybe a good soup will help. Please let a good soup help. As Marie looks around the bunker at night, a cover of Don't You Forget About Me plays, and the original was famously played over the last few scenes of The Breakfast Club, a movie that you guys all have seen. A movie about a group of mismatched misfits stuck in a place they didn't want to be, just like our Gen V kids. And like the ending of The Breakfast Club, when all the kids go their separate ways, Marie steps away with that same bittersweet feeling The Breakfast Club did. This also reminds us Marie is always leaving the others behind. She's doing it for what she thinks are noble reasons. However, these kids are often immature and make poor decisions because their brains are not yet fully developed. Also, they'll get mad at her for doing it again. So why is she doing this? And before the episode ends, Kate thinks Marie can heal her brain and get her powers back on track. And we don't know if Marie does in fact help Kate, but Kate follows her into her newfound journey to kill Cypher into the darkness. And the episode ends there. Ooh, why? We're now left wondering, are Marie and Homelander really the only two soups to live out of Project Odessa? Remember, Marie was initially seen as a failure, showing no powers. So what about soups like Annabeth who hid theirs? Maybe there's another soup that's just been hiding. Will Homelander find out what Cypher's plan really is? Does he already know what it is? Does he want to be included on it? Also, which is more important to Cypher, healing himself or culling useless soups? And what other business is Stan Edgar actually doing? Because if it's bad, I need to know now. While I can't answer any of these at the moment, one thing I think we can deduce is which soups could halt Cypher from getting into their mind, which could be soups with neurological force field-like powers, possibly Cindy. We already saw Polarity. Annabeth could see Cypher's intentions, giving her an edge, but you know, that didn't really stop her from getting her throat slit. So I don't know if it's gonna be too helpful. It's maybe good to get, you know, like a hint. Kate could be that soup who could halt Cypher from colonizing her mind. We know that she has those mind powers. I mean, it's broken right now, but in the future, she could maybe get into his mind. And can Marie actually heal Butcher? Comment down below with your thoughts on episode 6. Who do you think could halt Cypher from entering their mind? And a special thanks to Gina, Ippolito for helping me write this bad boy. Me and Gina were screaming in this script. Also, Annabeth, look, we're here for you a little bit. Not all the way, but we're here for you a little bit. Follow me at Lulu_Clemons. Subscribe to all the channels in the new Rockstars network for breakdowns and news coverage of everything you love. Thanks for watching. F*** Cypher. F*** Cypher.